So, Pete Murray, welcome to Noise11.com with a new album not too far off, the first totally independent Pete Murray. It's an exciting time.
Second one. First one, The Game, that came out before Feeler, was the first one back in 2001, I think it was.
Oh, well, you had a little sneaky one before Feeler. Yep.
And then we recorded about five songs off that album to go on to Feeler. Songs like So Beautiful, All Your Way, My Time, was it Lines, and then can't remember the fifth one. Bail Me Out.
I'm sure people can put it down in the comments. They probably know. The fans know you better than you know you.
I know, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I had a very good run with major record labels over the time. And, that did pay off. Why did you decide that you wanted to go back to doing it independently?
Sony was the label I was with here in Australia. They were great. I can't complain about them. The local guys, the international guys, I can complain about because they just did nothing. That's one of the reasons why I left, because there was just, there's just no support, and it kind of, you've heard the term being shelved. Well, that's kind of what happened. I couldn't put the music out overseas back in the day when we should have, and the label just didn't want to. So, not the Australian label, but they kept pushing to try and get the release, but the international label didn't really want to. So, for me, that was kind of disappointing. I just felt like it was just time to go back and be independent. I think also, like the other thing with record labels, the deals that you do back then, you probably don't understand what the masters mean to you back then too, when you're doing those deals. And I'm kind of probably lucky that, in a way, I'm one of the artists that's probably paid back the label, but I still don't own those masters. Or the percentage is kind of on the low side, but that's just what that is. And the way the deal was, I'm not sitting here complaining about it. Like I said, the guys have been great for me, and I'm very grateful for what they've done for my career so far. But I think, I want to own my masters now, and even those old songs that everyone knows, the big ones, I want to own those because they're my songs, and I want to, I think every artist should have a right to own their masters, the songs that you record, as long as you pay it back. I feel like that's something that, I've paid it back, I should own those. But so anyway, that's where I'm at the moment, owning the masters and owning my songs, because that's something that you need to live off, I think, with artists. You can't just keep touring all the time. You've got to have that royalty income that helps you, gives you time to record and songwrite and things like that.
Yeah, just to explain for people with the major record labels, it's a bit like if the average person went out and bought a house and then paid that house off over 30 years, and at the end of 30 years, the bank still owns your house.
That is correct. That's a good way to describe it for people. And I think that when they understand that, everyone's very supportive of the artist. And it's important that, when, like I said, the main thing for me is you have that royalty stream that's really important for artists to have, and if you don't get it because it's so small that you just don't earn much from it. And even in the heyday when you were earning money, it's going back to paying the debts off, because that small percentage that you earn goes back to paying your debt off, where all the cream goes to the label from once the major debt's paid. So it's the way the deals were done, and that's the way that they worked. And I don't know if they've changed too much anymore, but I just felt like, for me, I've got a strong fan base in Australia, and I felt like, doing it independently was the way to go. I think that, Taylor Swift's also led the way in re-recording her songs and owning those masters again, and everyone's been so supportive of her, and other artists now can do the same thing that she's done, and I think it works really well.
So will you be doing like Pete's versions of all the albums then?
Well, not all the albums, but that's something that probably Taylor can afford. But I've done about 20 songs so far, and I've also done an acoustic album, which is called Acoustic Roots Volume 1, which came out on this solo tour that I've just done recently, and that's been a massive hit with the fans, and we've sold a lot of those albums, CDs and vinyl. And I've also kept that off the streaming platforms because it's going back to being old school, where you can actually earn money from your sales, where Spotify and the streaming platforms, you don't seem to earn much money from it. It's getting harder and harder, and I think that some if that can change somehow for the artist to earn a royalty off that, it needs to change, but I don't know how it will. But like I said, keeping myself doing the vinyl and the CDs and selling it on the tour has been a great earner for me, and you're kind of creating that demand for this album too that people can't listen to unless you buy it, and
Mm.
it's something that it's been getting amazing feedback from fans and other friends that have heard it, and which is great. So I've got that acoustic volume, and then I'll have a volume 2 and 3 and 4. It opens up to whatever I want to do. That's all kind of for any songs I want to do. And then there's the Pete's versions of the actual band songs that I've re-recorded again. So Better Days is out. Better Days Pete's version is out at the moment. The other ones will follow down the track. I'm not sure when yet.
So the new album is Longing. What do you feel it shares most with from the previous catalogue?
I had to compare Longing. Um, it's kind of been a body of work that's been recorded over, say, about 10 years. Songs that I haven't felt have been right for other albums that I've kept for this one. I kept putting them in an unfinished folder. Songs that weren't finished and ideas that I had, just kept putting in this folder, and then I'd open it up and I'd work on one of the songs for a bit and then put it away for a number of years and then pull it out again and work on it again. So it's it's been a 10-year album. If I go back to say the success of Feeler was also had the first independent album that I'd spent years to write and record, and then another year or so to record Feeler, where we took 5 songs from that album. So that was kind of a number of years to have an album's worth of work of content, I guess, that had some really good, powerful lyrical content that meant something to a lot of people, and I think that Longing has that kind of a similarity to it.
That's interesting because you've just described the Rolling Stones' Tattoo You album, because that was
Right.
basically a collection of songs that were in the vault, unfinished, left over, didn't fit on other albums from the previous 10 years that came
Yeah.
out in 1980 that went sort of back to the early 70s. So, yeah, you and
And
Mick
that's
Jagger have something in common.
yeah, that's right. Um, and I think that there's some older songs that have this old, flavors that I wrote like 10 years ago, that I'm not doing now. So, that's what you've got. Songs like Longing itself, the self-titled album, is a song that was, just I forgot about it and I just discovered it, and it was like, wow, what's this one? It's a cool track. It's got beautiful lyrical content, beautiful big chorus, and it just had to be finished. So, yeah, getting it back together and finishing it off was a good thing.
What about the song Amy? Which, we've been drip fed a few songs off the album so far. Amy described as one of your most hypnotic songs. Tell me about the writing of that one, when that was done, and who was Amy?
Well, I'm not talking about what that's about at the moment because I don't want to take people, when you explain what the song's about, it sort of takes away from what people interpret that song to be. And I don't want to explain what that is yet. So, but it is definitely a song that's been around for a while, floating around for a while, and just had to finish the lyrical content off for that one. But the song, yeah, it has this real hypnotic kind of a feel to it. Most songs, I don't write songs that have a four on the floor beat to it. That one just seemed to be perfect for it, and it's got this like backbeat rhythm, which is just that's sort of hypnotic in itself. And when you add a kick to it, and there's this like a synth bass line in there that just gives it this beautiful bottom end, and the keyboard that comes in and the solo is just probably my favorite part. It just floats, and the song just floats, and it has this beautiful feel to it.
So you had Luke Palmer also working on that. What was his part in the
Yeah,
creation
so
of the
Luke
song?
engineered it for me, and he's fantastic. He's also a great musician. Plays in Dead Letter Circus. Great guitarist. Plays keys. Plays bass. Unbelievable bass. I find a lot of guitarists play incredible bass because they kind of play the bass like a guitar. Um, and he just helped me put this one together, and we just had this really we sort of searched for a snare that was just that really loose snare, an open snare that was just sort of plays through the whole song, um, which just also lends itself to this hypnotic sound, I think, that just sort of makes the song float. But yeah, Luke's he's a really talented guy, and he mixed this song as well for me. So he's one of those guys. It was funny because I was working with another friend of mine trying to get some mixes done, and he was too busy, and he said, "Look, just get Luke, who's been sort of assisting me to do some stuff." And I just thought Luke was just an assistant, and I sort of got him one day and said, "Look, can you help me? Just I got to fix one of these songs, whatever it was." And jumped in. It could have even been Amy. I don't know now. And I remember getting in there with Luke and just going, "Man, this guy's way more than assistant. Like he's good. And he's a producer himself. So someone like that's got producer ears, but he's an amazing engineer. Doing vocals with him was fantastic too. His pitch is great, and had a lot of suggestions on just how certain, when you're singing yourself, it's hard. I find doing vocals, so when you're singing it, you've got to listen back to see what you've done, listen to what you've done. Where he's there and he goes, "I like this," and we'd kind of quick listen to it, and then I'd go, "Okay, yeah, let's change that." So he was really good for picking up the different inflections that I would sing that would some were better than others. He'd go, "Let's do this." So he'd piece together things on the fly when I'd be doing a vocal line. He'd mark, "This is a good part, that's good," and he'd piece it together and go, "Check this out," and I'd go, "Yep, love that," or "No, let's not do that, let's do this." But he was really, yeah, he's quick on the tools, and he's got a great ear.
So ahead of the album, we've had Amy, Home to Me, I Am Fire, Wouldn't It Be Good, teasing the upcoming release. Why those songs? Were they songs you wanted to slot into the set list and sort of gave some familiarity before you got out to play?
It was really hard trying to pick the songs because it feels like, for me personally, I feel like this album is solid from start to finish. I don't feel there's a weak song on there. But what's a single these days? I don't know. It's changed so much. Like it doesn't have to be a commercial song anymore. So what are those songs that represent that album? And if really we had like five songs to choose before the album drops. So what are those five songs? And it was hard for me because there's a lot of songs that everyone sort of had their own favorite versions of the songs, and I was like, what do we go with? So I think the Wouldn't It Be Good came out in the summer, and it's had a real good summer feel, and it was probably the closest to what I'd done before, sound that I'd done before. That bit of a acoustic rhythm guitar, and we just felt that was a good song to start with, and having that good summer feel just worked really well.
You've done quite the extensive tour recently, getting out, dozens of dates. I think it was over 50 dates on that tour, wasn't there?
It was 56 in Australia and four in New Zealand, so 60 in total.
60 in total. Wow. So how do you chop it up? Do you have a set list these days that, when I go on tour, it's these songs in this order, or is there a bit of a shuffle that goes on?
It was a tricky one to try and work out because, first of all, I had to work out what this solo, because this is my first ever solo tour in this country. So I had to work out what's this tour about? What do I want to say at the show? I don't just want to just play acoustic versions of songs. It's got to mean something. It's got to be important, have some sort of meaning or message to people. So for me, it was all about my journey so far and how I've got to where I am. And it's kind of really interesting because I talk about this luck or fate, whatever you believe in. And for me, too many things have happened that I believe in fate. This is kind of meant to happen. I kept getting pushed towards this music career when it's just funny how I picked up guitar in the first place, how I started to write songs, how it all happened. Other areas, because my background was sport. I was studying natural medicine. I was doing early days swimming and athletics and footy, rugby. And for me, I wanted to be as competitive as I could be. And athletics was the main thing. Swimming, I kind of didn't really enjoy as much. Athletics and rugby were really what I enjoyed. And so I was, I was determined to try and make either a Commonwealth Games. I was running fours and eights. Eight was probably my race to make a Commonwealth Games or Olympics in the 800. But I sort of enjoyed a beer too much to so I knew I wasn't going to be as successful as other guys who were, totally off the alcohol and training all the time. And I put a lot of time and effort into it. But it just was for me, Our desire to get to that level wasn't quite there, and I wanted to have a bit more, enjoy my life a bit more. And rugby was good fun, very social, and I enjoyed that. So, but a knee injury sort of changed that. And once again, how that all happened and where I ended up going overseas and playing more guitar, and how I started playing, how I started writing songs was an interesting thing too. So that whole story has been what I've been telling it on the tour, and people have been loving it. People that have been seeing me for 20 years now have been saying this is by far the best show they've ever seen of mine, and it's great. Like just that those intimate. I think they love the intimate shows where you got acoustic guitar and vocal. They just love that.
The irony, I guess, with not wanting to do the training, wanting to have the beer, when you go out on tour, rehearsal is training. How much training for a tour do you have to do before you go out the road?
Well, with a band, you got to do a lot more. When you're solo, it's kind of like just sitting at home, and for this one, was going over what stories do I tell? Because there's so many stories I could talk about. This is like 30 years of doing music. So what other stories that I'm going to talk about that's going to people are going to resonate with and get the most out of? And playing those songs, like that's I've done a million times. I wrote them that way, so it's not so much playing because that's how I wrote them and that's how I sing them all the time. And whether there's a band behind me or not, those songs are those songs. Um, but it was really, like I said, the main thing was about getting the stories right and the whole show of how that would happen. And then I would also have Brett Wood, my guitarist, would come out. He supported me on this run, and he would come out towards the end and do the last 4 or 5 songs with me. And so it would come up with would bring the stomp box in. He'd play electric, and I'd be playing acoustic. So you have this really big sound that would end the show on a high. So where you got the first, hour or so of the show is just me on guitar telling stories, and it's really intimate, and then just sort of lifts at the end.
Mm. So the next tour is with the full band again, huh?
It is, yeah, because it's a representation of the long album, which is a band album. So yeah, looking forward to getting out and playing those songs, and it'll be nice. Like I've really enjoyed doing the solo thing. To be honest, I've loved that, but I still love playing with the band. The band's a lot of fun. I've got some of the best players in the country in my band, and they're incredible live. So anyone that sees them play is pretty blown away.
Whenever there's a new album, you've got that difficulty with what comes out of the older songs in the set list to squeeze in tracks from the new album. Have you contemplated all that yet?
I've got it. I've got to do that. So, because there's lots of new ones I want to play. So, but you can't do a full set of new ones because people don't know them. But although this one, there'll be at least, by the time I start playing, there'll be at least 4 songs out that the people will know. So it's not too bad. But I mean, it's hard to not play quite a few of the old songs because it's people want to hear those, and that's where the sing along comes from. And hopefully there's definitely some new songs that they will be singing along as well once they get to know them. I remember doing Opportunity when that came out in Better Days, 2005, and I did that tour in 2005, the See the Sun tour. And songs like Better Days and Opportunity, I was saying them for the first time. People didn't know them because they didn't have the music, and people are kind of looking at you like a dog with the head tilted, going, "What's this?" Few months later on another tour, once they've got their head around it, they're all singing those songs back to me. And now years later, they sing those songs back. So people just got to get to know the songs and get used to them, and then they'll enjoy them as much.
And that must be an exciting thing for you who's been around for so long that, you've had songs now that have crept into the culture of Australia. That must be a very proud thing for you.
Yeah, they have. Well, they mean so much to people. I think lyrically, they just they take people back to a certain place in time, and some songs are very important to them lyrically. I know that Better Days and Opportunity are really big songs. Better Days, especially for helping people get through hard times and understanding that you can, no matter what you're going through, you'll get through that, and you'll end up, you can always get through hard times. Basically, and it encourages people to understand that, know that when they do, they'll be in a much better, stronger place to help other people too. So it's all positive. Even though it sounds like a melancholy song, it's actually a very positive song. Opportunities been a big inspiration for a lot of people, just sort of, working at what you're doing in life, and if you're not happy, get out of the situation you're in and make a change and do what you want to do. Big songs, I think even just other songs off Feeler have been around for a long time. So Beautiful and Feeler itself, and those songs have, like I said, meant so much to so many people. So it's easy once you start first few bars of those songs, people just get straight away, they're into it.
Well, it's good to catch up. Great to see new music on the way. Another tour. You're a busy man, Pete Murray.
Yeah, yeah, Paul. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. It'd be nice to, getting back out and, like I said, getting some new music out there. I'm definitely due for it, and it's been nice to get it out, and it's been received really well so far. So it seems to be a good vibe. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping that everyone will enjoy the album when it comes out.
perfect. Good to see you here at Noise 11.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Good to talk again.